Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to look at a topic that I haven't gone through in great detail before, although I have certainly dealt with articles and countability before. But I wanted to summarise some of my thoughts about when we use a, an, the and no article. And I wanted to collect together a few different topics, or these topics. I think this topic and this topic and this topic are taught separately, and actually they're the same thing. And I think it might be instructive if you take all three of these examples and put them together in your head, and this one down the bottom as well, because these are all slightly different and yet they're the same. So let's go through some rules here that will be really useful to you if you're thinking about whether to use a, an, the and no article, because I think a lot of people have skipped over this information, and if you have, it will always be a problem to use articles correctly. So firstly, you've got to understand that nouns, the same noun like chicken, can be used countably or uncountably. And sometimes it's a really concrete noun like chicken, which can be used in both ways, but a lot of the time it's an abstract noun, and we'll talk about those in a moment. But let's start with this, because this is what you usually see in the grammar books, this and this. And let's start here, because I want to show you that this is actually the same. So if you've got something like food or drink or materials, usually there's an uncountable version and a countable version. Yeah, and so you've got chicken, a chicken, iron, an iron, coffee, a coffee, beer, a beer. Both exist. So what's the difference in meaning? Because they do have different meanings. The uncountable version means usually if we're talking about food, it means an ingredient. Yeah, it means then chicken as an ingredient. So if you're talking about chicken as an ingredient, it's usually uncountable. Yeah, what I mean is if you're saying about if you're talking about your soup, yeah, and you're saying what's in the soup, you'll say chicken, peppers, mushrooms. Yeah, you just say chicken. You don't say a chicken. Now, why not? Because a chicken means one chicken, one whole chicken, and it's unlikely that there's one whole chicken in your bowl of soup. There's probably just some chicken, and so we use the uncountable version to just show that we mean the ingredient chicken is in the soup, and not one whole chicken is in the soup. So if you're in a restaurant and you say, I would like a chicken please, and not I would like chicken please, that means a completely different thing. It means a whole chicken. You know, you would expect the waiter to bring you a whole chicken. If he says, oh yes, we have a chicken for you, 1 second, he should come back and give you a whole chicken. And that's rare that you want a whole chicken. Usually you just want some chicken, a piece of chicken. Yeah, and that's the idea, that these are the ingredients when we say chicken or coffee or beer or chocolate okay, they're not food or drink, but I want to show you that these are actually really similar. Because let's take a different example now. Let's take the bottom one. Glass is a material. The uncountable versions are ingredients or materials. Glass is the material that breaks, that cracks, that shatters very easily. A glass is this, guys. It's one of those. That's a glass. That's it. And a glass is often made of glass. A glass is often made of glass. Yeah, so that's the object. The countable version is the object. That's a glass, just like a cup, a plate. Yeah, they're all countable as well. Whereas glass is the material. Iron is, I can't remember which number it is on the periodic table or Mendeleev's table, but it's Fe. Yeah, iron is the material on the periodic table that we label Fe. It's very often Fe2 plus or Fe3 plus. Yeah, if you're into chemistry, I've always liked chemistry, you'll know that the iron ions, yeah, we actually use the word ions for a charged atom. The iron ions are 2 plus and 3 plus usually. Okay, so iron is Fe. An iron is a household object. Again, it's the one which looks a little bit like this. I'm going to have to stop drawing soon because obviously I'm not very good at it. But I didn't iron this t-shirt, guys. I just took it from the washing line. But if I were more interested in clothes and fashion, and I'm not at all, yeah, if I were, I might have ironed my t-shirt before the class. Yeah, I might have ironed my t-shirt, but I'm not interested in it, so I didn't iron my t-shirt. So an iron, and the verb to iron, yeah, the verb is, you know, I didn't iron my t-shirt. An iron is the machine that you use to iron your clothes to make sure there are no horrible creases, like all in this t-shirt. Yeah, there are lots of creases. And that's the word we say for lines in clothes that haven't been folded up, that have just been thrown on the floor like my kids do. Yeah, and so you need an iron to make your clothes look nicer. So coffee, it's the ingredient. A coffee, yeah. So you can say, I drink too much coffee. It's true for me. I actually want some coffee right now, but I drink too much coffee, or I drink too many coffees. Yeah, I drink too much beer, or I drink too many beers. So a beer is a glass of beer. Beer is just the ingredient. Yeah, the thing which contains alcohol that's made in a certain way. Yeah, and so you might say something like this: the Germans like beer. Yeah, maybe you say something like that. The Germans like beer, and you mean the ingredient beer, the drink. Yeah, you're not talking about a glass of beer, and that's what you mean when you say a beer. So notice that it's always more concrete, the countable version, and it's more general. Yeah, it's more specific, the countable version, and it's more general, the uncountable version, because I want you to see that this is always the same. This is what's the same. Uncountable means general. Countable means specific. So chocolate is the ingredient. A chocolate is something which you take out of a box of chocolates. So it's a thing, a chocolate, whereas chocolate is an ingredient. You know, it's something that's inside a thing. You know, it's something that you might say is good for you or bad for you. Yeah, I mean, obviously chocolate is not very good for you, but a chocolate is not going to kill you. Yeah, do you understand what I mean? A chocolate is one chocolate. Chocolate is just the ingredient. Paper is the material. A paper means a newspaper. Yeah, it's very specific, this. It means a newspaper, a paper, but paper is the material. Yeah, the material which we all use, which we all put in the printer. Sorry, the printer is countable. We all put paper in the printer because we need to put paper in the printer if we want to print something. And then a sheet of paper will come out. And, you know, don't say a paper for a sheet of paper, guys, because they're not the same. A sheet of paper, or a blank sheet of paper, is a piece of paper, but a paper is always a newspaper. Yeah, so if you want to make this specific in the sense of just, you know, in the sense of, I've got some down here, I think, in the sense of, yeah, one of those, then you say a sheet of paper. You say a sheet of paper, you don't say a list of paper. I often hear that. Not a list of paper, not a leaf of paper, but a sheet of paper, and not a paper. Yeah, because a paper means a newspaper, always. So you just got to memorize that. Okay, hair is this, and a hair is one of those. Yeah, it's a strand of hair, and you can say a hair or a strand of hair is very common. A strand of hair. Yeah. Okay, and glass, a glass, I've already explained, that's the material which breaks, which smashes, which I think is made from sand when it's heated up, silicon oxide, I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's made from sand. And a glass is one of these. Okay, now I wanted to go a little bit further here because there's more. There's a longer story to be told if you want to hear it, because actually even a word like fire is like this. Yeah, because fire is a material, let's say. Remember that way back in ancient times, the ancient sages, the very clever men and women that lived in those times, they spoke about earth, air, fire and water. And they were talking about the 4 elements, of course. Now, notice that they are 4 materials, really, aren't they? Earth, air, water, fire. And so fire uncountable is the material. That's what it is, just like water uncountable is the material. You know, a water is usually a glass of water, just like a beer. In fact, I'm going to put it here.